In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create a pyramid chart here where both sides has positive values. This is a bit of an advanced way to do it with a nice border or bar background here as well. So let's start to look how to do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our border template, which you can get here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page, and of course, got a question, put it on Discord. So what we're going to do here first is start to create a horizontal bar chart for this pyramid chart. Well, to do this, I'm going to break it down into a few categories and I'll make it very simple. I'll say 55 plus, I'll say here 30 to 55, and then 15 to 30, and finally I will say here 15 and below. All right, so we've got 4 different categories. I'm going to make here, eventually this will be male, and we have another one that will be female. So let's copy all of this. Make sure you copy it like that, including this one here. Put a comma, paste, say here female, save, refresh. All right, so we have 4 of these, but we have here a few, so let's change that, or let's change these numbers. This is all fictional. Say 1, 5, 10, 15. All right, and I'll put it in here as well. And because this is female, we're going to make sure that this is red. I just put in here number 1 to make it solid. And then for the borders, we're going to keep that in there for the red one. Next, male is blue, that's the second color. Put that in there and remove those. Number 1, save, refresh. All right, that looks much better. So now what I want to do is I want to make it horizontal. So I'm going to scroll down here in the options, say index, axis, and we say here this will be the Y. And what will happen is the scales or the values and the numbers are being swapped. There we are. That looks all very nice. What I want to do next is having them, because what is very important in this case is we want to make sure that all of these are positive. So we're going to maintain them positive. So to do that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add up another scale, specifically another X scale, where the female items will be on the right side of the, or in the center right, and male will be center left. So to do that, I'm going to say here comma, and I will say here the this should be based on x-axis ID, and the ID name will be x2, or you could even call this female, whatever you want. Let's make it female. And the other one is by default on X. So that's already set, so it will know now. Now if I save this, refresh, we have 2 items here. But what I want to do now, have the scales left and right set. So how do we do this? So we're going to say here X, and then put a comma, and then we say here Y, sorry, not Y, this will be X number 2, which is called female, because we have that here as the ID name. And then we can say here, let's copy this begin at 0, put it in there. And to begin it at 0, and then we're going to say here they are together one, stack or group. So we're basically grouping them together, and the group name will be number 1, and it's called a stack. So we just say this is the stack number 1, and then I can say here comma number 1 as well. Save, refresh. All right, we're getting an error, so let's see what's the error here. Probably the comma here that I forgot. Save that, refresh. That looks much better, but we're still not in the right position. So what I'm going to do here, and maybe we can even make this border radius or something, but we'll leave it for now. Let's make sure that this is nicely aligned with each other. So what I'm going to say here, on the Y scale, we will say stacked, because this is on Y level, we'll stack it so they're on equal level. Set it on true. Just make sure you don't get confused with stacked and stack. Stack here is basically group name. While this one is here, are we stacking the chart? So if I refresh now, we have now stacked them on top of each other but not really, because we're using still the scale. However, look at this here. I don't like this here. This one is just not correct, because here we start from here. I want to move that to the right side. So what I'm going to do here, and this is for the male, and the male is the X. So I say here, comma, I'm going to set this on reverse, set this on true, save, refresh. Now that looks much more like a pyramid chart. So now we have this demographic chart or the pyramid chart. What I want to do is I want to have like the gray area here, and maybe to make it look a little bit nicer, border radius on that. So we say comma, and let's say you can see here in the center we're missing basically a border. So what I want to do here, border skip, set to false, save, refresh. Alright, so maybe you're seeing it, maybe not. Let's copy that, comma, save, refresh. So now everything is also filled up in the center. The next thing what I want to do here is maybe border radius, and we can just say here 10, save, refresh. That looks, looks alright, acceptable, but I guess we could do here, we could fine tune it with making it only for one part or not, but we have the border skipped already, so I'll just leave it. We'll just do it like that. If we don't do this, we can hide that. Maybe it will look a bit more better, or else we can specify that specifically, but I'll just leave it like that. That just looks a bit more nicer to the eye. Alright, the next part is how do we make a gray area here, just specifically for that. So to do that, I'm going to say here, comma, I'm going to say here, plugins, then I'm going to say here an array, because we could have multiple plugins, and this will be our bar border plugin or something like that. Copy this, then I'm going to say a constant bar border, or not even border, this should be bar background. Let's correct that. Alright, then I'm going to say here, the ID name will be bar background, and then I'm going to say here, before we draw the data set, chart arcs plugin options. I won't be using the last two, just only the chart for now. Constant, we're going to say here an object destructuring from the chart object. We're splitting these in separate items. CTX. And what can we use more here is probably we'll be needing the data, and then we can say here the chart area to make very simple, to get the length and the width of the chart area. For that one, here I'll probably need the width, and then maybe we need left and right. Let's see if that will be more than enough. I do think so. So the first thing what I want to do is I'm going to make it a very simple bar. We can make it with a rounded border, but this requires a little bit more effort, but it could be done as well. Anyway, let's start to do first one thing. Let's say ctx.save to save all variables above, and now I'm going to say here, let's make a bar or rectangle that covers from left to right. So I'm going to say here ctx.fillRec, and this rectangle will have coordinate x, coordinate y, and then the width and the height. Alright, so all of these we need to calculate. What we do know is for the chart area we get the width, which is from left to right calculated. Since we're going to just go from left to right straight away, that makes it very easy for us. We could just say the width will be equal to the width. The height is a little bit more tricky, because it will have to calculate the height of this. And how can we calculate that height? That height, well, let's see, we can do the following. Do the console log, and I'm going to show you where we can get this data. Then we say here chart.getDataset meta, and in this case I'm going to get index 0, which is the blue bar. Although both of these bars have identical height, so I don't have to worry much about that. Then I'm going to say the data, and then for the data I want to get here the specific item, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the height itself. 0, and then dot height. Once we did this, let's open up the console log, refresh, and then, alright, x is not defined. We have to do that still, just ignore that. But right now I do know 28 pixels, 0.72 plus plus is the height. So what I'm going to do here is, we probably also need the x. Well, we not probably, we must need the x and we must need the y, which is basically all of these values here. So what I'm going to do here is the following. I'm just going to grab all of this. I'm going to say this dot for each loop. And the reason why is I want to draw for every data point a bar from left to right. So we're going to say for each, and then we say here data point, comma, index, function arrow expression, and then we're just going to grab this, put it in there, put this in here. Then what we can do here, remember this y, remember the height, all of those can be done from this point. So we say data point dot height, data point dot x, data point dot y. All of those are given within this item for every data point that it loops through, so which is very nice. Of course, left and right needs to be in equal value then. So once we have this, and you can see here it is not really correct, and that is a mistake of my side, because I need to start here and end it all at the other side, and I need to push it up as well. So let's start to fine-tune this a little bit. Let's give it a color. And for the color, I'm just going to say here, I can do it here above because the color will be identical, so we don't have to loop through this color code every single time. So I'm going to say ctx.fill style, and then I'm just going to get the color background from the grid line that we also have, which is RGBA, then 102, 102, 102, 0.5 if I'm not mistaken. So we have that color set. Then what I want to do here is this position is basically the exact coordinate of this one here, which is fine but not necessary for our case. You want to be here. So what I want to do is just want to start from the very left side. Let's put that in there. Let's save that. Refresh. Alright, that looks much better, but the position is still not correct. I want to push this up. So what I need to do here is basically it starts here and then it draws downwards, or basically from here it draws downwards, meaning I need to be 50% higher. So I need to just get the height, divide by 2, and then we can deduct that from our data point y. So what I'm going to do here is whatever is our data point height, maybe you can just put it in here, constant half height equals this divided by 2. Doing that, can we grab this? Then that minus the half height, save, refresh. There we are. I think we're already all set. Of course, maybe you're not satisfied with what we have here. So what I can do here is make these all rounded, because it's just a single bar, makes it very easy for me to make a rounded bar. So if you're not satisfied with this, what I can do is the following. I'm going to say here, instead of fill rec, we need to do here the following is ctx.begin path. And this says basically we're going to create a shape that's independent of everything else. And then what I want to do here is, instead of fill rec, we do round rec, and then the round rectangle has a final value, which is the border radius. So this border radius will instantly impact every corner of this border of the rectangle. So what I want to do is I want to grab the one we have assigned here, and that's why we have this data here. Let's grab this, and then we can say here from the data dot data sets index 0. So how did I get there? It's basically from the data sets with index 0, and then just grab this one here. I assume they are all the same, so that is perfect. So what I'm going to do here from a round rec, index 0, and then we say here border radius. And then if I save this, now I'm going to say ctx dot fill to draw this new shape, and I'm going to hide this one, save, refresh. There we are. We get now a nice border radius. And if I show this one, it will probably overlap it, make it slightly darker, but you can see here the overlap and the difference. And basically now you have these two options here, which is absolutely phenomenal, and that's it.